Hey guys, Games with Chin here, and I'm here today to talk about it's not really a review video because unfortunately I didn't get to play it. I don't have a PC, and it was Steam only. But I want to talk about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game coming up. So it's coming out by Gun Media and Sumo Digital, and I watched a lot of this game, I will admit. And I just want to talk about it, what I think and what I hope. So we will start off with the survivors. Now, the first thing, I love that you start off in Leatherface's basement. That is perfect for a Leatherface, a Texas Chainsaw game. And it also makes it the creepiest because who would want to be captured by Leatherface? I mean, nobody. So from what I've gathered, now, I talked to a couple streamers who were streaming, and I had a couple questions answered, but not a lot. So I'm going to go based on memory and just kind of what it looked like to me. I'm hoping for some things differently, and some people might be able to listen to this video and correct me, and that would be wonderful. So starting off, you start off as a survivor hung up, and you got to mash a button to get off of the like you're tied up. I like that. I mean, that's cool. And it seems like there's a lot of mashing a button. So I think that could be, it's good, but I think it potentially could be problematic. Myself, not necessarily, because I don't have a lot of problems mashing buttons. It's the holding down of buttons and then using analog sticks or other buttons that I struggle with. But I think it could be problematic for people that don't have the ability to mash buttons a lot. And this game definitely has you mashing buttons a lot. I understand why in a lot of areas, though, because when you're searching for an item, you have to press a button kind of at a very methodical pace as to not make noise, because if you make noise and you fill up that noise meter, then Leatherface or one of the family members will hear you and they'll know where you're at. Now, it looked like some skill checks you could hold down the button and it would fill up the bar too. I'm not entirely sure on this, but that's kind of what it looked like. But I would say most actions require you to press a button repeatedly. Now, the one thing I do like about this game is you don't have to press the button super fast unless you're in a hurry. So if a family member's chasing you and you're trying to go through one of the grates on the ground and you have to open the grate, then you do have to mash the button really fast in order to open it and crawl through. But otherwise, if you're trying to remain stealthy, which is important in this game, mind you, you don't really have to be that fast. And I like that. That's really cool. I love the take that they did with the everything makes noise, or not everything, but most things make noise, and you don't want to make noise. You want to remain hidden to the best of your ability. I think that's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Now, one of the things I'm curious on, now, I did ask a streamer this, and he said with crouch, it's toggle. That's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. You don't have to hold the button down. I like that. Now, run, I heard, was you got to hold it down. You have to hold down the button to run. And I saw that when you get hit, you have to keep pressing the run button to sprint faster. As someone who has to use his chin to play and use the analog stick, that could be problematic. Because I'm used to games where you click the analog stick once and then you just keep sprinting until you stop moving the character or you click it again. Um, I'm not sure if it'll be a problem yet, as I haven't gotten to play the game. Really hoping there's a beta on consoles because I'm on Xbox, and I'd love to be able to test this out and see a lot of the features. But crouch is good. Sprinting, I'm iffy on, but that could potentially be okay depending what all the other buttons do. Unfortunately, I don't know what they do, but it didn't look like, from when I was watching people play on the Survivor side, it didn't look like that there was a lot in terms of you have to use every button on the controller to do something, which means I could map things elsewhere. So I'm really hoping that's the case. It's not like Friday the 13th where you fight back against, like you could fight back with Jason, so you had to have an attack button. But I know that there are options where you can hit a family member from behind to save another person, or you can stab them with a bone shard. But I think I could map that to where it could just press the button to do it and you do it. Other than that, I like what I've seen so far. I know one of the big things I'm really skeptical about is lock picking, because it's kind of like Skyrim's lock picking, which was great. I'm hoping it's where you have to find the sweet spot and then you can release the analog sticks and it'll stay there, and then you can press the button. I'm really, really hoping it's not you have to hold the direction that the sweet spot is in and press the button at the same time, because that's going to be really, really difficult for me if that's the route you go. It looked like, from people playing, that they only had to find the spot and then they didn't have to keep their joystick or mouse. People were using a lot of mouses, but it didn't look like they had to actually hold it there. They just had to find it and then press the button. I'm hoping that's the case. I really am. And I'm hoping that there's an option or the ability to, like, some things you have to hold down the button to do, and it'll make like a bar fill up in a circle. I'm hoping that you don't have to hold down the button to do that, because some of those take, I'm not going to say a long time, but they take long enough. And while I could do it, it would be easier if it was a toggle feature where you press the button, the bar would fill up, and then you could either, in order to cancel it, you could either press another button to cancel it, or you could just go to run away and it would automatically make it cancel. That's another thing that I would really, really like to see. And this is a big one. I have to use what's called legacy sticks. So what that, and for those who are not familiar with legacy sticks, it's, I map the axis from, like, so for instance, I use the right analog stick to move my character. So I use the right side of the controller, not so much the left side of the controller. So up would be run the character forward. Down would be the character runs backwards. Left and right would be the character turns and not strafes. And that's on one analog stick. And then the other analog stick would be up looks up, down looks down, left and right makes your character walk sideways, strafes. Now, I'm really hoping that they took the premise where a lot of games did, where using the one analog stick to run and turn the camera, that your camera will keep up with your running. I know in other games, Dead by Daylight, for example, when you run and turn, it slows down your running. So you get caught a lot because of that. Now, Friday the 13th was wonderful about, you could run and use the camera to turn and your character didn't slow down. And I hope I'm really hoping that's what Texas Chainsaw did, because that was a lot easier. Trying to remember everything because there was a lot to go over. I think from the Survivor side, from what I can remember, I think I covered most of it. I will have more than one video, so if I didn't, I'll remember and do another video. Now, the family side, this is a lot trickier because, unfortunately, I couldn't get anyone to answer any questions regarding the family. So I'm going to go based on what it looked like to me. You have an attack button, which I am going to assume is the right trigger, or R2 if you're a PlayStation person. But I don't know about sprinting. I saw people sprint. I don't know if it's a click of a button or if it's you hold down a button like you do as a survivor. Have no clue on that. I'm hoping you just click the button to run and not have to hold it down everywhere. That could be, again, potentially problematic. I've noticed with the family, it doesn't seem like there's as many things that require you to mash a button. Like when you start up a generator or something, it's just timing on a button. I think you hold it down from the looks of it, fill up the bar to a certain point, let go, and then hold it down again. And it's very quick. So I don't believe that will be problematic at all. I think that'll be just fine. The attack button, I'm sure I could manage that. I'm hoping, though, that the sprint is not a hold mechanic, because I'm not sure how I'll do that if that's the case, because that could be really difficult. But, I'm sure that they've been discussing this, and they'll take opinions and whatnot. So that's what I'm hoping. And just like with survivors, I'm hoping that since I use legacy sticks, when you run and turn the camera, it'll keep up well and not slow your character down, because the family has to chase the survivors a lot, and I know if it slows you down, it's going to be hard to catch up and do any damage to a survivor. Other than that, I mean, the family side seems easier in terms of buttons. It didn't seem like, from what I could tell, that there were as many buttons to use as the survivor side. Granted, I could be wrong. I don't actually know for sure. I'm just going based on what I saw, but I think Bubba Leatherface would be the hardest one, because I know with him, you gotta, in order to do I don't know if it's a one-hit attack to down them or what, but it does the most damage. You gotta hold down the left trigger to rev the chainsaw and press the attack button. So that could be also problematic, but I think it would be okay if they had sprint as a toggle feature. I think there would be a way to manage that, but that's only with Leatherface. Everyone else seems like they just have a basic attack. You just press the button to attack, and you don't got to hold down anything. So that's good. That's good. And I'm trying to remember anything else, because I have noticed that the family, it's basically you chase people and you hit them, and you fill up the blood vials, and then you give them to Grandpa. Other than that, though, it didn't look like from the family side that there was a lot of buttons being used. So it looks like potentially you could map something to something else, because I'm not sure how important every button is in this game. So that could potentially be really good. If it only requires a few buttons to play, that could potentially be huge, especially for a game like this where it's online, and you have 3 versus 4, and to not require a lot of buttons potentially would be massive, honestly. And it would show that a game can be simplistic in terms of mechanics and buttons, that you don't need super complex buttonry, whatever you want to call it, to make the game function. And that's what this game kind of resembles. It looks like it's a very easy game mechanically to pick up and play. And I'm hoping that's the case. I know mastering it is one thing, but it looks like you could learn the game quite quickly. And that's a wonderful thing, especially for people with range of motion issues like myself. We don't have the ability to hold a lot of buttons and this and that. And so I think, with the exception of Leatherface, which is, by the way, my favorite killer, it seems like it should be an okay game to play, and I'm hoping that's the case. But this is just kind of my take and kind of what I hope. I know that some of these, or most of these, may not happen, but this is just what I have taken away from the server stress, the technical test that they did. And I watched a lot of gameplay, because I love Texas Chainsaw. Loved it since I was a child, when my grandma and grandpa introduced it to me, and I've just always loved it. And to see my favorite franchise become a video game is fantastic. So hopefully these things happen, and hopefully that they're able to implement a lot of toggle functions, so it doesn't require you to hold and hold and hold and hold. But I won't know until they either do a beta for console or August 18th, when the game actually releases. But I do know I'm very, very excited. Very, very excited to play this game. And I think Gun Media and Sumo Digital, from what I've seen, they've done a fantastic job on the game, and they've worked really hard on it. And that's awesome. They captured the atmosphere. The game looks amazing. It looks like you're really playing in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. And that's the most important thing. So I got to give them props on that. They've done, from what I've seen, an amazing job. But other than that, that's kind of my take. Just not a review of sorts, but just I guess just a conversation. We're just having a conversation. So here's to hoping that a lot of these things come to fruition. And thank you for listening. I appreciate it very much. And I think that's it. So I won't ramble anymore. But to end the video, in the immortal words of one Bill and Ted, please be excellent to each other.